Hi, this is the second part of our tutorial on how to solve the New York Times crossword. So today we're going to be doing a Tuesday crossword, a little bit harder than a Monday, still fairly accessible since it's an early week puzzle. And I do recommend you watch the Monday video first since I talk about some basic strategies and how to approach a puzzle in there. With that out of the way, let's get started. So right off the bat, we can see that there's some interesting stuff going on with this puzzle. We've got several words within words that are gray and that are presumably part of this puzzle's theme. We'll find out as we go. And it looks like this puzzle also doesn't obey standard diagonal symmetry. Most crossword puzzles have rotational symmetry, which means that if you turn one upside down, you end up with the exact same pattern of white and black squares as you originally had. This puzzle doesn't have that. The black squares are laid out a little more randomly. So for example, these three black squares right under the lines here are not located, like you would expect them to be here, here, and here in this bottom section, but they're not there. So clearly something weird going on here, which is cool for a Tuesday puzzle. So let's get into it and see if we can find out what's going on. Spanish house, that's going to be casa. Spanish and French language words are pretty common in crosswords, and if you have sort of a Sesame Street vocabulary, you'll find life becomes a little easier. Sunday newspaper section, don't know what that is. B+ beater, probably an A-. Nissan Compact, I think that's a Sentra, Nissan Sentra, but let's check one of those letters to make sure that it's correct. Appearance of a comet to some, well, that's an omen. Lots of people think that comets are omens. Andre the Giant of wrestling and moviedom and preserved as pastrami is cured. Retirement benefits org, that I'm not sure of. Might be SSA. We'll come back to it. Opening remarks is an intro. Like hallucinogenic drugs. I'm guessing that's mind bending based on this opening section, but I'm sure it starts with mind. Which means this is comics, so that is SSA, yeah, okay. So you can see here how even if you're not sure of a particular word, you can just work on the words around it and fill in more letters, and then you clear out an entire section. And that's trivial on a Monday, but on a Tuesday it starts getting a little bit harder, and gradually we'll figure out everything. Mind-bending is probably part of the theme here because this is fairly mind-bending if you're used to regular crosswords, which might make this not a great one for a tutorial, but such is life. Let's see how it goes. Rushmore, neighbor of Teddy. So we're talking about Mount Rushmore here, and since Theodore Roosevelt is referred to here as Teddy, his first name and also a nickname, we would expect the answer to be a first name and also a nickname. So it's going to be Abe Lincoln for Abraham. And again, just pay attention to how names and words are presented in the clues, and they'll often give you a hint as to how to enter the actual answer. Capital on the Eastern Mediterranean, I don't know that offhand. An Italian fashion giant, I also don't know that offhand. So let's try to get a couple more letters here and see what we can do. The Bather's Impressionist. Thought that was Monet, but obviously not. Maybe Renoir. I don't know if it's Renoir or not, but if I put in R-E, that gives us pretty realistic beginnings to these words. They both look as if they could actually be words in the English language. So I'm going to tentatively put that in, just with the willingness to change it if necessary. Disney mermaid's name, well, that's definitely Ariel. Cloistered one perhaps will be a nun, and Let Something Go, I would assume. And then Netflix crime drama starring Jason Bateman, I happen to know that's Ozark. Okay, so let's double back and try to fill in this section before doing the corner. Capital on the Eastern Mediterranean. I'm guessing that's Beirut. I didn't know that was a capital, but you learn something new every day. This has got to be Let It Go. Could have also been Let Me Go, Let Us Go, something like that. So I didn't want to fill in the letters too soon. And Italian fashion giant must be Armani. That makes sense. And uplifting verse, that'll be an ode, very common word in crossword puzzles. Society's woes is ills. Actor Efron is Zach. Easy as, I guess, ABC. Yep, because pi won't fit. BOGO event. BOGO stands for buy one, get one, so that must be a sale. And then let's finish off this corner before trying to move forward. Targets for exterminators are ants. Long baths are soaks. Unaccounted for briefly is MIA. Notice the briefly telling us it's an abbreviation. Geez, that's too bad. Aw man or oh man, but we don't know which one. Word after doctor or guess. That'll be Doctor Who or Guess Who, the board game. Jersey is a shirt and a blithering fool is an ass. So geez, that's too bad must be aw man instead of oh man. Okay, so we've cleared out the entire top section of the puzzle, which is what we want. So let's take another look at these theme answers, especially this one that is mostly filled, and see if we can find out what's going on. Neither left nor right. Well, it pretty obviously starts with middle, so let's go ahead and fill that in. I don't know what the rest of the answer is, though, so we'll have to hold off on it for now. Let's keep working down. Again, we're building off of words that we already know. Nordic capital is Oslo. Place to duke it out, that's probably a boxing ring, realistically. And that does give us ring in these shaded boxes here. But the significance of that still isn't clear. So let's just keep going. Sport one's biceps, that'll be flex. Venetian blind part, probably a slat. Something to behold, don't know. From a safe distance, no, at a safe distance. Get mellower has got to be age. You get mellower as you age. Drink in a red, white, and blue cup. Gosh, I don't know. Is that some sort of American thing that I'm not familiar with? We'll come back to it. Something to behold. Oh, it's got to be a sight. Something to see, something to behold. It's a sight to behold. Blah will be our old friend Ick from yesterday. Drink in a red, white, and blue cup. I guess an icy. That's a drink that shows up every now and then in the puzzle. We call them Slurpees in Canada. Let's hook around and see if we can get this part of the puzzle. Calculation using height and weight. That's got to be body mass index. Looking at the distribution of letters here, yeah, it's definitely body mass index. And okay, now I see what's going on with this theme. What we've got here is the 5 fingers on your hand showing up in all of the different shaded areas. So if that's the index finger and that's the ring finger, then this must be thumb finger, or the thumb, not the thumb finger. And the clue, hand-to-hand combat, well, that's got to be thumb war. And here we must be looking at the pinky. And the Locomotion Singer 1962, no idea on that one. Still got those filled in, so that'll make life easier down the line. All right, let's come back to the left-hand side of the puzzle, and then we'll work our way down. Long ago, must be your. One crying you're out is an ump. And again, notice that you're out is kind of an informal way of writing you're out, and so you have ump rather than the more formal umpire. So again, the clue is giving you a hint as to how you should be entering the answer. Take advantage of is use, need a rub down, says aches, subtly suggests is probably gets at, and yeah, opt for means settle on, so that'll work. Post-OR stop will be the ICU, unfortunately timely right now. Trot or canter, that'll probably be a gait, since those are both speeds of walking for horses. And Danish shoe brand, so I'm guessing this is a reference to Mark Echo, although I don't actually know. So let's check the cross, the piper's son in the nursery rhyme. Well, it's got to be Tim or Tom, and I'm not familiar with the nursery rhyme, but Tom sounds more likely, and it goes with Echo. Plus, Echo just makes more sense than Eki. I don't believe that's a brand name, so I'll fill in the O there. And this is pretty standard in crosswords. You're always going to have some words or some clues that you simply don't know. I very rarely solve a crossword without learning something new in the process. And that's one of the things I like about crosswords. You always do find out these fun new facts, and good solvers will clue things in such a way so that they do teach you new things, which is kind of fun. And this is a pretty tight crossword. This is a pretty good example of one. But it does mean that when you have something that you might not be aware of, you do have to be fairly careful with what you cross it with. And again, good constructors will clue stuff fairly. So, for instance, here I didn't know that Echo was a Danish shoe brand, but the crosses are gets at, aches, ICU, and Tom, all fairly gettable answers. So everything remains fair for the solver. All right, let's finish up down here. Save in a way means bank, to bank money, to save money. Prefix with nautical has got to be aeronautical. Company where the computer mouse was developed, I'm assuming that's Xerox. And again, something I didn't know, but there's really nothing else it could be, so I've learned something. Impermanent sculpture material, that's got to be wax, since wax will melt. Knocked the socks off will be wowed, and in the loop, so to speak, will be aware, not be up to date on bills. That's O, so we're good there. Neither left nor right. I'm thinking this must be middle of the road. Yeah, that looks right, because then we can get this cross of surf's sound, roar, the roar of the surf. Totally rules, owns, I guess. Is that what the kids say these days? Let's hang on for a second. Results of some Hail Mary passes informally, that'll be TDs for touchdowns. And again, the informally is a hint that you're not writing out the full word, which of course wouldn't fit in this case anyway. Beyond tipsy, that'll be lit, completely lit. Ian Fleming is the James Bond creator. And then totally rules, yeah, that must be own. Some customized cars, probably lowriders. I guess that doesn't have anything to do with the theme. Nope, nothing to do with the theme. Alrighty. It's near a temple. I got nothing here. You know what? I bet this isn't Pinky. I bet it's Little Finger. Yeah, that makes more sense, because now alike in French can be égal for equal. It's near a temple ear. Oh, okay, very cute. So this is a good example of how Tuesday clues start getting a little trickier than Monday clues in some cases. When you first read the clue, it's near a temple, you immediately think, all right, an actual physical temple, a building. But in this case, it's temple as in your head. And so the ear is near the temple. All right, that's quite cute. And there'll be more and more of those clues as we get deeper into the week. So there really weren't any like that yesterday, but we've had a handful of tougher ones today. Wednesday will be harder still. Thursday will be harder still. And by the time we get to Friday and Saturday, there'll be very, very difficult clues across the board. But it's still possible to attack them even if you have no clue at first, and we'll get into that later in the week. Doomed from the start for short. Well, that's got to be DOA, dead on arrival. Dog collar attachment is ID tag. Untrue is probably not so. Bitter brews for short. That's IPAs. IPA is something that comes up very, very frequently in crosswords, and just because the letters are so useful. So again, some of these short words that keep coming up over and over are what we sometimes call crosswordese. Like it's a foreign language, and everybody kind of has their own definition of what goes into crosswordese, but for me it's anything that pops up so regularly as to be an instant fill for people who solve crosswords regularly. Hamilton creator is Lin-Manuel Miranda, and a New York Stock Exchange debut is an IPO, which makes ain't happening no go. That all works. Emissions watchdog for short. EPA, not really doing a lot of watchdogging these days, but that's fine. Put on will be Dawn. Kim of Vertigo, I happen to know that's Novak, which is good because it means that we know that the locomotion singer must be Little Eve in 1962. I have literally never heard of Little Eve, and so if I also hadn't heard of Kim Novak, I would be in a little bit of trouble here. I wouldn't necessarily know what goes there, but looking at little something, you could probably work out that that was little Eve. There's not really a lot of other letters it could be, so it's still a fair crossing, even if it's a little bit on the tricky side. But in this case, I did know Kim Novak, so life is easier. Heine, but I have no idea. Seeks as a price, that'll be asks. Oh, it's not little Eve, it's little Eva, because this has got to be Nats for pesky flyers. Nat is a pesky flyer. Well, okay, fair enough. So, a good example of why it's so important to clue things fairly when you're crossing a proper name, especially an obscure little name, an obscure proper name, because here I would have had no clue what the last three letters here were. So I would have needed to rely on the crosses to get them. Or I do have to rely on the crosses to get them. So Lowriders, Novak, and Nats. And yeah, there's our answer. So yeah, that's that's actually a pretty good Tuesday puzzle. A little more complex than a Monday one, a little bit unusual, and a good example of how to solve a Tuesday crossword. So I hope this was useful. I hope this was informative, and we'll come back tomorrow and knock out the Wednesday and work our way through the week. Take care.